Ever been sucked into a book or show that had a million things going on at once? You know, where it wasn't just about the main character's big quest or love story, but all these other juicy plot lines were unfolding around them too? Those, my friends, are what we call subplots. And when they're done right, they can take your story from a tasty snack to a full-on feast. In today's video, we're diving deep into the world of subplots. We'll talk about what they are, how they make your main plot even more awesome, and how you can weave them in without ending up with a tangled mess. By the end, you'll be a subplot ninja, ready to craft stories that are bursting with richness and depth. Let's do this. So, first off, what the heck is a subplot? Basically, it's a secondary storyline that unfolds alongside your main plot. It usually involves your supporting characters going on their own adventures and dealing with their own problems, while still being connected to the big, overarching story. So, like if your main plot is about a plucky hero trying to save the world from an evil sorcerer, a subplot might be about the hero's best friend struggling to prove herself as a warrior. Or, if you're writing a steamy romance, your main plot is probably the will they won't they dance between the lovebirds. But a subplot could be the heroine's rocky relationship with her mom, or the hero trying to save his family farm. These mini storylines might not be the main attraction, but they still have all the beats of a juicy narrative. Conflicts, turning points, big emotional moments, the whole shebang. They're like the opening acts to your headliner, adding texture and flavor to the whole show. But subplots aren't just there for funsies. They serve a real purpose. For one thing, they make your story feel so much richer and more immersive. By fleshing out your side characters and giving them their own struggles and triumphs, you're creating a world that feels big, buzzing with life, and bursting with stories worth telling. Suddenly, your tale isn't just a snapshot, it's a giant tapestry. Plus, subplots are a great way to explore your story's themes and ideas from new angles. Let's say your main plot is all about the challenges of becoming a new parent. You could have a subplot about your protagonist's own parents going through a health scare. And bam, now you've got this whole new lens on what it means to be a caretaker, to have that parent-child bond, and to navigate family in tough times. It's like looking at the same idea through a kaleidoscope. You get all these fascinating new patterns and insights. And let's be real, sometimes we need a little break from the main action. Subplots let you switch up the pacing, the stakes, and the emotional register. They give the reader a chance to breathe, to explore a different corner of the world, before diving back into the main adventure. It's like cleansing your palate between courses of a gourmet meal. It just makes the whole experience richer and more satisfying. Okay, so subplots are the greatest thing since sliced bread. But how do you actually weave them into your main story? The key is to make them feel organic and interconnected, not like a bunch of random threads flapping in the wind. One trick is to look for ways each subplot can crash into the main plot at key moments. Maybe the hero's best friend reveals a crucial piece of info during her warrior trials that changes the whole game. Or maybe the family farm drama forces the romance heroine to confront her deep-seated fear of commitment. You want these storylines to braid together, each one tugging on the others until they're a nice, tight plait. As you're writing, try keeping a subplot scorecard. Jot down the key beats for each mini arc and make sure they're unfolding in sync with your main chapters. You don't want all your subplots wrapping up in a rush at the end. Let each one breathe and resolve at its own pace, in a way that feels right for its stakes and heft. And most importantly, every subplot should be doing some work for your main story. It should be highlighting a theme, testing a character in a new way, or setting the stage for a major conflict down the line. If you find yourself with a subplot that feels random or irrelevant, don't be afraid to trim it down or snip it off entirely. Not every minor character needs their whole life story, you know? Of course, there are a few pitfalls to watch out for, too. The biggest one is letting a subplot hog the spotlight and overshadow your main dish. It can be tempting to get really invested in a juicy side story, but if you find yourself spending way more time on the wacky neighbor's hijinks than your hero's epic showdown, it might be time to rebalance. You also want to be careful about subplots that feel completely disconnected from everything else, like they're happening on a different planet. Even the most minor subplot should have some tendrils connecting it back to your protagonist's journey, your story's central themes, or the major conflicts at play. Otherwise, you risk your tale feeling scattered or sluggish. And finally, be thoughtful about how you wrap up each subplot thread. If your main story is gearing up for a dark, bittersweet finale, you might not want all your subplots tied up in perfect, sunny bows. Let the overall vibe and themes guide how you land each plotline. A bit of poignancy or ambiguity can make the whole story resonate so much more. So, to recap, subplots are secondary storylines that add depth, richness, and thematic oomph to your main plot. They let you explore your story's big ideas from fresh angles, flesh out your supporting cast, and give readers a more immersive, varied experience. To weave them in like a pro, look for ways to connect them to your protagonist's journey through character goals, themes, or conflicts. Keep them in proportion to the main story and pace them in harmony with your core plot points. Make sure they're earning their keep by doing some real work for your story, and don't be afraid to prune any stragglers that aren't pulling their weight. Stick to those rules, and you'll be crafting symphonies in story form, guaranteed. If you want to take an even deeper dive into crafting complex, multi-layered stories, I've got a whole course on just that. You can find the link down in the description if you want to support the channel and take your skills to new heights. But for now, I want to hear from you. What are some of your favorite subplots from books, movies, or shows? What made them so memorable or powerful to you? Share your gems down below so we can all bask in some storytelling greatness together.